We are going to move to item G, new business. And this is for public hearing, 108 Old County Road Use Permit UP 313. Proposal to establish a commercial gym educational facility for martial arts training totaling approximately 1,456 square feet on the second floor of the Brisbane Village Shopping Center. Applicant is March AKD, owner United Ings Limited Partnership Ltd, assessor's parcel number 005212110. Seth?
Yes, thank you. The applicant requests approval of a use permit for a commercial gym educational facility to conduct martial arts training in the Brisbane Village Shopping Center. The use would occupy approximately 900 square feet of training area and office space. A small part of that is office space, plus an equipment storage area. That is approximately 3% of the shopping center's leasable floor area. This use would be located on the second floor of the center. The facility would be used for martial arts training for both children and adults, and each class would include up to 15 students plus 2 instructors. The proposed times are Monday through Friday, 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. Additional classes may be offered on Saturdays. There are 2 required findings for a conditional use permit which this application meets. First, the Planning Commission shall give due regard to the nature and condition of adjacent uses and structures and to general plan consistency. The use is consistent with the general plan's land use designation and also includes the general plan includes policies establish a mix of land uses that best serves the needs of the community and encourage a broad spectrum of Brisbane residents and businesses. It's consistent with both of these policies. The second finding is that the Commission shall determine whether or not the use would be detrimental to those residing, working in the neighborhood, to property or improvements in the neighborhood, or the general welfare of the city, which this application meets as well. In this case, the use would be beneficial for the shopping center as a whole to reduce the vacancy rate while providing a use that would serve the community. That is, it would provide a place to learn karate and a place for fitness and personal development. The current and anticipated future uses in the shopping center are not anticipated to conflict with the gym. The gym's hours would be off of the peak hours for the shopping center. It would also provide a balance of uses for the shopping center. The municipal code does not specify a parking standard for this type of use, but the applicant has indicated up to 7 spaces might be necessary. This is a reasonable estimate and can readily be accommodated based on parking surveys provided in your staff report. Finally, the application was submitted to the various city departments. The fire department has requested a condition of approval to address the current fire codes for conversion of this space to this use. In closing, staff recommends conditional approval via adoption of Resolution UP 313.
Any questions for staff? I just had one question. I was wondering about the, did you talk with the owners of the mall about the sound that would come through with kids jumping around on the mat?
I have not talked directly with Judy about that specific item. I know she has signed on to this application. I can grab it. I have it at my desk. They have planned to install tatami mats on the floor, which I expect would greatly reduce any sound impacts or vibration.
And the tatami mats are...
It's about this thick. I'll go ahead and grab that and show that to you as we transition over to public comment. I'll go grab it.
Okay.
Okay, and you may direct that question also to Judy during the public comment.
In your review, did you do any research to find out the noise generated by these kind of activities? you talk to any other gym operators or any other areas where there is such a facility, or through the literature, any data that you have?
I have not. You might ask the applicant if they have a feel for that.
Yeah, I think we should look at it too, as a staff, because it will be important because we are reviewing and approving the application. So, as far as the parking, I think there is no issue in terms of, because it's the hours, the recently approved project will not be in conflict.
Right.
Right. So are they going to have a dedicated space for them, or they just have assuming that they will have 7 spots, but are they going to be marked, or is it a requirement or not?
Dedicated parking spots, there's no indication of any plans for that. I think for a shopping center such as this, I think it's best to keep the parking as rotational as needed, because certain hours of the day, the lunchtime when they're not there, those parking spaces I'm sure would be needed by other businesses.
Yes. The reason I'm asking, because you specified 7 parking spaces, I was wondering whether there are 7 dedicated or the estimated.
And that's an estimate that the applicant gave, and I think that was kind of an upper end number. I think they expect a lot of the students would be local, would walk or carpool, parents dropping off, for a quick trip in and out. So I think that's essentially their peak time at the drop-off pickup times, essentially.
And also there's instructions for the pickups and all that was addressed to you as to how the kids will be picked up and what times, and they have to wait, or what.
That might be
you don't want
a good question for the applicant.
Because you don't want them to be running around again, just like the concern we had with the other application, because it's a moving traffic area. So. Okay. I don't have any other questions.
I have no questions.
All right. Thank you. And would the applicant like to come up and... Here, why don't you come up and introduce yourself? No, wait a minute. Why don't you come up and...
The flooring.
Could you introduce yourself?
My name is Mark B. I'm the future owner of the martial arts. I actually own Teriyaki House and House of Thai. And I also have an office upstairs, which is close to the dojo. So the concern of noise, I'm the majority of that area right now. So I guess one thing that I really have to look at is in regards to the noise, that's why we actually have the mats here. But one condition that I actually approached Judy is if there's a tenant that's going to move downstairs, I'm actually going to move the dojo out of there. I know there's a big space in that corner, 10,000 square foot on the bottom there, below the martial arts.
Would you come up? Yeah.
So there's an empty space below it right now. So
right.
The closest space to it that's actually going to get affected would be our restaurant, Teriyaki House and House of Thai.
Oh.
Then the closest office upstairs would be my office for my other company that I have. But really the goal of this business is actually for my son. So I'm trying to help him start a business. In the same time, I have this retired Army guy, and I'm also a retired Air Force guy. So I figured doing some community service, not just having a business, but actually influencing youth in Brisbane. We actually have a couple of employees that actually live in Brisbane, and their actually kids actually goes to the schools here. And there's a lack of activities. I know that they have the community center going, but I think having something really permanent in Brisbane would definitely help out. And I think we also consider donating to the schools too. So for every student that applies to our school, we're actually donating $5 for each registered student. So there's a community service that we're actually doing, bringing back to the community. But in regards to the parking, we don't have a set space, but what I determined from the volume of students at 15, and I just made an assumption of 50% would actually park, guaranteed parking. The other 50 would probably carpool. And that's why we came out with 7, but I think it's still kind of playing kind of high on that at 50%. So Judy, you have anything to add on?
Well, I guess when you were telling about upstairs, the 108.
Hey, Judy, can you move to the microphone? Thanks.
Sorry.
No,
no problem.
Hi, I'm Judy, the property manager of the Brisbane Valley Shopping Center. When Mark and Joe first approached me, proposed this activity, want to open at the center, which I thought, it's a good idea. And because maybe about 2 years ago, there's another nonprofit, I guess it's the boxing, that was led by at least 2 or 3 of the residents in Brisbane, and they even came to talk to me and Charles about that. That time they were interested on the location where last month when we had the hearing for the church, have their service over there, okay, on that corner. And we said, okay, great, because it's for the majority the kids enrolled on that activity is from the city of Brisbane, the residents. So, however, later on, they found somewhere else is better, and that is way out on where the Baylands on the other side. And and again, I said, well, okay, fine. But then, so when Mark and Joe approached me at this, I said, well, first of all, my concern, because I said, look, quarterly, I do we see, and I believe you all, also we see not the monthly, the quarterly city Brisbane that activities, and I saw what you have at the Missing Blue or by the library, right? There are some activity going on the weekend. So, and right away I pointed to them. I said, "You're going to have a competitions, okay? Unless that they agreed, Otherwise, when you come here and they doing the public hearing, they could come here to oppose you. Okay, that's my concern. But it's a good activity after school for all the young people, so they could be learning to protect themselves, not to hurt someone else. And of course, it's kind of training for them to discipline themselves and not go out to get drunk or get drugs or fight for or go into some gangster clubs or something. So I thought it's very, very good idea for that. I said, but you have to work and talk to the people who has the lessons over there, and also maybe some other parents from the school and see they supporting you. So actually, these 2 gentlemen and Michael, the 3 of them, they did spend a lot of time doing some research and talking to different parents or for some adult that came to their restaurant for dinner or lunch. They did stop and talk to them, and I believe that you have a list of the sign off, the parents, that say, hey, we would like that idea and support it. Okay, and that's why finally after so many months they came back to see me and said, Judy, here. See, we did do our homework. Okay, it's not something, I'm trying to give them a hard time, but however, anyone who wants to start a small business like this is going through a lot of things. I want all the people, no matter small or large or medium size of business, come to the center and they start and working well. Right? And that's how they do, right? And they will continue making our center better and have more tax and pay to the city. That's what, my mind thinking. It's not just because my center have a lot of vacancy. I do, have to screen what kind of activity or restaurant or any business, whether they're going around, as a team in my center. It's not anybody who want to come in, I will allow them. And I did pointed out one thing. I said, you were talking about upstairs. My concern is when you're teaching those youngsters, there will be noise. That's my second thing that I Yeah, so that's why they said, we will find out something for you and prove it and let you know.
Hi, my name is Joe Moreno. I'm the senior instructor for the martial arts school. Well, my basic martial arts is 32 years I've been doing it, and we're a stand-up martial arts, so it's not a flipping judo where you slam or you're on the ground constantly. So the noise level is very low. Another part of your question about the traffic during the turnovers, we give a 15-minute interval gap. So every class, there's 15-minute time period for the parents to pick up their kids before the next class starts.
That's good.
And out of respect, I already I talked to the person who runs the Taekwondo class at the library, just to let him know that I was trying to open up a karate school, to let him know out of respect as a martial artist. And he's saying more power to me. So I got his approval from that time on too. That's the research we've been doing for the past couple months. So we're just not sitting ducks out here. So we just wanted to let you know that the questions that you have is very simply solved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we ask some questions, or
Yeah.
Lady,
I
the question you want to ask?
was going to ask about the safety issue in terms of the parking for the children when they do transition, because you have children as young as 4.5 years old, and so it's not a matter of, well, I think that it becomes incumbent upon the school to make sure that they're inside until they get picked up, or
Yes.
they're chauffeured in and out.
We won't allow the children to go outside of the school unless their parents come and get them. We won't let them go downstairs. We'll have someone supervise them to the bathroom if they have to be. So it's a give and take. We'll make sure that it's in all karate schools. It's like that. They don't allow any children to go outside of the school.
Or to loiter or wander up and down
Yes,
because it gets to be
they have to
dangerous.
stay inside the school.
Right.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, not just this martial arts school, but in previous ones that I've worked at, it's not allowed. The parents have to be there to pick them up. We can't say, oh, my mom's meeting me outside. Well, mom has to come inside, and that's the biggest thing. Because the concern is that they can be, anything can happen once they step out the door.
Right.
And once they step out the door with their parent, then our liability is less.
And the child's safety is first.
Yes, very, very important.
Yeah, and I wanted to thank you for, you anticipated a question I had, which was, did you check with the rec department? Because we do have youth, and so thank you for that. And also thank you for contributing back to our schools. That's wonderful. Thank you. It makes a difference to the community. Thank you.
Any questions?
I have no questions.
Okay, the question I had was regarding there's a jumping noise. The other one is that when I used for the karate, my kids used to go to those. They do make a lot of noise, saw and all that stuff.
Yes.
Did you take that into consideration, whether that
yes.
will cause any kind of
Well, I believe the mats muffle the sound a lot more.
because they yell, not only jumping,
Yeah.
but yelling.
That's quite a thick mat.
In the building, I would say it would be about 40% noise or further yelling, and it depends on what they're doing.
Mhm.
If they're doing something, I like it nice and loud and fun for them, but it has to be to a minimum too. You got to hear instructors talking. They want to make sure that they're paying attention. But if you have a lot of noise level, then they won't be able to pay attention. So we want to keep it out of balance.
Okay. The other question I had was regarding the equipment storage. What kind of equipment you will have on the site?
We'll have pads. We have punching bags. We have gear for them to use, paddles. Everything's all foam and padding for their safety.
There's nothing that can endanger any.
Oh no, not at all.
Not yet.
No, none. We're very traditional. It's a very traditional martial art, so it's not MMA type.
Yeah, there won't be any swords or anything.
Oh no.
Okay. I think you covered pretty much all the ground, and I was very happy to see the long list here. One thing that caught my eye was it says no name, no email. Yes.
Yeah.
I was wondering. I said it gives me a good hint when I run for election any time. I can put number of those.
Well, they didn't want to give their name or email, but they just said I agree.
That's good. So I don't have any other questions.
Debbie? Nope. Well, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Okay, anyone else want to speak on this? Okay, at this time, we will close the public comment.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Uh-huh.
A second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I think it's a very nice proposal, and I think some facilities that like this will really benefit the kids in our town. I think almost all small or big towns I've seen, there is a lot of interest in this kind of training for the young kids. And the thing is that they also like to be part of the community. And their gesture is very clear that they want to support the school system also. They're not competing. And they gain part of their proceeds to the school also, which is a good thing. So I'm pretty much happy with the proposal that they have. So I don't have any comment.
I just think it's great that we've got another new facility for our kids in this town. I really have very little to say except that I would welcome this business.
Yeah.
A town they've already proved that they're great business in town for many, many, many years now. How many years? 18?
18 years.
18 years. Okay, so I'm okay with this.
So it's going to be a family
Indeed.
business.
I think this is a great idea, and they've done so much legwork to prep and to really be inclusive and be very responsive to community needs. So I very much support it.
Okay, so would anyone like to make a motion to approve this application?
I will make that motion to approve the use of 108 County Road, use permit P313, and hope to welcome them here.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, congratulations. We're very excited, and we hope you have a wonderful time setting this up.
Best of luck.
Thanks for all the homework.
You
by
need
the
to
way.
read the appeal process. Yeah.
Okay, so if this is an appeals process, anyone who may appeal the action of the Planning Commission to the City Council not later than 15 calendar days, 10 calendar days for subdivision applications, that doesn't work, after the Commission's action. An application form and fee is required to make a formal appeal. For additional information, please contact the Community Development Department, 415-508-2120. Great.
Free.
So, we're going to move on to item H, items initiated by the staff. Introduction of City Attorney David Kahn.
Again, I'm very pleased to welcome David to the city family and to the Planning Commission. I'll turn it over right to him and give a little background, and if you have any questions for him, it would be a great opportunity for you to get to know him a bit.
Chairperson and members of the commission, good evening. I'm David Kahn with the law firm of Rennie Sloan Holtzman Sakai in San Francisco, and I've had the privilege of working with the city of Brisbane for I think almost a month now as city attorney. I wanted to come and have the chance to meet you in person and just give you a little bit of background. I've been working with planning departments, planning commissions, in both large cities and small cities for about 27 years, and have seen a number of interesting issues come across the desk of the Planning Commission and my desk as well. In that time, I've developed an appreciation for how important the work of the Planning Commission is to cities. I think when you talk to citizens, there's nothing that's more important to them than the character of the community, the areas in which they live. And as the Planning Commission and planning commissioners you, of course, have a great impact on the quality of life and on the character of the community. So your jobs are very, very important. I look forward to working with the city and with the Planning Commission on issues as they come forward, and I encourage you at any time that you have a question that may involve a legal issue to speak to the planning director, who will then convey it to me, and we'll be sure to get you answers as soon as we possibly can. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, welcome. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have questions regarding your experience with EIRs. Have you been involved in a number of projects that are going on in the Bay Area, including San Francisco? Have you worked in any of those in expediting or reviewing the EIR process?
I'm very familiar with the EIR process and with CEQA. I spent 5 years as a senior county counsel for Santa Clara County, working with their planning department and looking at CEQA issues. And then it's been a year now, but I spent 7 years as the city attorney for the city of Sunnyvale down the peninsula. And there were a large number of projects involving environmental review, EIRs, and various mitigation measures that came through the city. So I have worked very extensively with CEQA and with EIRs.
And you get a chance to look at the current EIR that's in circulation since you've been...
I'm in the process of looking at it. I think I'm on page 350. Only about 750 more to go.
Okay. And how about your experience in small, moderate, or large-size cities? Have you worked in all of these different sizes of the cities and local issues that are pertinent to those type of cities?
I have actually, in those 27 years, I've worked at cities that have been as small as about 25 or 26,000, and cities that have been as large as close to 1 million. So wide range of sizes and issues, both for large cities and for small cities.
This city is only 4,000, so...
Right.
So that's why I asked you the question, because there might be a whole set of different issues involved with the smaller cities, because sometimes the smaller cities, citizens are much more involved in the process because, and they want to keep the character of the city versus
Sure.
the bigger cities. So I just wanted to find out your experience in that field so that when we come across during the EIR process that we are looking forward, you will see that there will be a lot of interest from the locals. And that's where we will be looking at you to provide us some kind of a guidance as to how to handle those situations. And there are a lot of issues that may be the Planning Commission has to make a decision. It may not be automatically just EIR, that's what it says, or this is what we should do. So those type of issues, we rely on your expertise, and that's why I'm asking those questions to see whether how much help we can get from you. So
Hopefully as much as you need.
And your last job was with the city of Sunnyvale, or what?
My last job with the public agency was with the city of Sunnyvale as the city attorney for the city of Sunnyvale. I've been with Rennie, Sloan, Holston, Sakai for a little over a year now, and working with a number of different public agencies, including actually a number of fairly small cities as well.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any experience in working on the general plans of the various cities? And because this city, we also have the general plan and review, there is also a concern regarding the, it's number of years that we have not updated that. And the whole system was waiting for this EIR for the Baylands to be completed. So that area also, there are a number of policies that we need to adopt into a code or into a ordinance. And that's another field that I like to see that how beneficial you will be in terms of the questions and concerns that citizens may have. Some of them may challenge some of those policies, and this city has a number of policies, even though we are 4,000 total, but we probably have more policies per person than a lot of big cities. So just be prepared for that. I think that you will enjoy it. At the same time, there might be a situation where we have to rely on your expertise to help us.
Okay, thanks for the advance notice on that. I'll watch for
Thank you
those.
so much.
Any other? Oh, Debbie.
David, I'm going to put you on the hot seat here. Have you dealt with brownfields and Superfund site issues before?
I have actually, in Washington, where I was for 12 years, I was involved with one of the cities I was working with as city attorney, was involved with a Superfund site, not on the property that the city actually owned, but involving a landfill where the city had transported its waste for a number of years. It became a Superfund site, and there were cleanup issues. So I'm familiar with Superfund issues, although it's not something that we see all that often. In Sunnyvale, I worked very closely actually with the Regional Water Quality Control Board and other regional boards, because on a very, very large site that was being developed for the downtown, actually it was the entire downtown redevelopment area, there was contamination from former dry cleaners from about 50 years ago that involved fairly substantial remediation and cleanup. It wasn't a Superfund site, but it did involve a lot of work with the Regional Water Quality Control Board.
Okay, thanks very much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I have no questions at this time. Thank you, and
Don't worry, we will have a lot of questions. But, yes.
We're just warming up.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
are there any other items initiated by staff at this point? Great. All right. So items initiated by the commission, anyone?
I would just like to make a comment about our feral cat issue, if I may.
Sure.
Would this be appropriate time? Over the last year or so, there's been issues that have been brought up to staff, not current staff that are present, about feral cat issues in Brisbane, and it's certainly an issue. And a volunteer group, which includes the Rose Kitty Rescue, Nine Lives Foundation, Humane Society, SPCA, several other cat rescue volunteer organizations. We've actually gotten together as an ad hoc group, and last Wednesday we actually spay-neutered 20 feral cats in Brisbane, 20 feral and stray cats in Brisbane. And from my perspective as one of the volunteers that was involved, I think everybody acted in an amazing manner, and it was 100% success. There were no issues. We do, however, still have a really big issue relative to feral cats. You can't blame the cats. It's the people who are the problem for dumping the cats in the first place that are not spay-neutered, and then we have the perfect environment for cats to reproduce in this town and cause an issue, and they do. It's an issue for the cats because they get killed by raccoons and foxes and dogs and cats in cars and people who poison them, and people are actually poisoning cats in our town, which is very sad. It's an issue for the environment. Nobody wants cat poop in the backyard. It's an issue for the environment relative to the cats then being hungry and going out and hunting the birds and the lizards and the fauna on the mountain. So it's a big issue. I would really love to encourage everybody in town to be as responsible as possible. They're welcome to call me, and I have all the resources at hand to get all of these agencies involved to rescue these animals and make this situation go away. And I'm really sorry I didn't turn off my phone. That's all I need to say.
Okay, I have a question regarding the status of the Traffic and Safety Committee. Do you know whether it was formed and who are the members of that?
Actually, I do have that information in terms of the membership, and I apologize. I agreed to forward that to the commission, I believe. I will do that after this meeting, or tomorrow. And I believe their first meeting was going to be scheduled in August. I don't have a precise date, but I can forward on the committee composition to all the commissioners for your input.
And what are their goals to achieve that? Because one of the things that I was concerned about and I've been talking about is the hairpin turn at Humboldt Road. And I was told that that will be part of this discussion, and I want to see if they have any blueprint where they look at these number of projects, and are they being chartered to come up with some kind of a position, or if they need the federal funding or stuff like that, whether they're going to come up with recommendations so that at least we can see some movement in that area.
I'll look at, typically when the council creates a new subcommittee like this, they set forth what their charge is going to be, and so I'll find that staff report, council report, and forward it on to you as well. I know they're looking at things like, as you mentioned, traffic safety issues, design issues, safe routes to school, which again is a funding, there are funding sources available for that kind of pedestrian safety related programs. Some issues with, I believe, street parking in the public right-of-way, some of those kind of issues as well could potentially be on their plate. But I'll give you all the information as to their formation and their composition.
And also they should be made aware of the parking regulations that Planning Commission has approved in terms of what are the minimum parkings and where. Because what happens is a lot of people when they park on the street, they think that's their designated parking space, and that issue has to be at some point should be addressed.
Okay.
I have a question about it as well. Do you know if there's a good representation for the different areas of town for the people who have applied?
I'd have to double check. I don't know if I had addresses I had names. I don't know if I had addresses, so I'll forward that on.
Okay.
That would all be part of the record.
And this is a group that if we find that there's a big area that there is no representation, that we could bring other people in? Is that encourage other people maybe to?
There are two things. One is obviously the council appointed as a certain size. I don't believe it's expandable in terms of the amount of members. So they did establish it as a fixed size committee, I believe. So
a fixed size.
Fixed size. It's not open to everybody necessarily. I don't know how many applicants they had. I'm not that familiar with that recruitment or that selection process, but it is a fixed number of members.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions you wanted to bring up, Mr.
I'm thinking there was one more thing I wanted to ask, but I can't remember right now.
It was about the general plan.
General plan, I already discussed that with, general plan update. I guess you're going to provide us that update sometime soon. And also the housing element, are we finished with that? Everything is done?
The answer to that is no. As we talked about, the council authorized the commission to look at some alternative sites to the Southwest Bayshore district that was designated. The city, we are actually making application for a charrette program through the Urban Land Institute, which would look at some of the sites in Crocker Park potentially, and the mixed-use site next to the shopping center. As kind of a kickoff, we would like to use that charrette process, which we'll make sure the commission is heavily involved in. I want your input as part of that process as well, and your involvement We look at that as being kind of a stepping stone to really moving the dialogue on these new districts and the potential for some of the sites in Crocker Park for residential.
Is the Charette program going to be next year, or is it going to be sometime this year?
We'll have to work with the sponsor, the holder, which is Urban Land Institute. We were held up until we had budget clearance from the council. There's certain cost involved with that, and when the council approved the budget for the current fiscal year, 2013-14 fiscal year, they approved the funds for that. So we weren't able to make application until we had the funding secured. So
when this is supposed to come before us, the alternate sites that we're going to study, one of them proposal, we wrote the letter regarding what's the name of that, that left leaving the
VWR site?
VWR site. Are we going to look at that anytime soon, or what's going on with that?
My thought was we would start with the Charette, and you would then have and then you would have some design options for the Crocker Park site. If at that point, we would also be pursuing, and we have pursued with the property owner, trying to gauge their level of interest on residential on the VWR site. Again, they haven't expressed a lot of proactive interest in that, and we'll revisit that with them. Obviously, we don't need their concurrence, but to really get a project out there, it would be a lot more useful if the property owner is along this exploration process as well. I would expect that we have the green building ordinance, which is in play. We have this housing, we have the Charette, and we have this VWR site. I suspect maybe by the fall, we'll have a better sense of the timing of how these pieces are going to come together.
But the council is willing for us to look at the VWR site, huh?
They authorized you to look at sites. They didn't get into the specifics of which site you might want to choose. Certainly, we've already Ken started some work in terms of just putting some information regarding these various sites that might be under consideration, their acreage, maybe the kind of yield you might be able to achieve in terms of number of units, et cetera. If that's the commission's desire, we could come back at that sort of preliminary level sooner than later, before the Charette process is actually undertaken, if you want to get that kind of basic background data.
I'd actually like those numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, it might not be a bad idea to put it in agenda of one of these meetings so we can know what's going on.
Sure, we can set it up as a workshop item.
Mm-hmm. And when is the next workshop or any movement on that EIR? Is there anything?
Well, the next meetings that will be held
is the one that was scheduled in September, I believe, or?
Well, we had tentatively set it for, we hadn't figured out a date. It's going to be about 30 days or so before the close of the comment period. We're going to council next Monday night with an update of what's happened to date with the EIR in terms of a status report, what meetings were held, how many agencies the document's been circulated to, et cetera. And part of the issue will be some conversation with the council about tentative dates for scheduling. I know we had passed around some dates we were working toward. We want to make sure that the comment period is fixed before we have these dates to take testimony. So we're trying to get some certainty as to the ensuring that the comment period doesn't change or the deadline doesn't change, because that would inherently change when we'd want to schedule those kind of meetings. So,
does it appear to be on track, John?
I've heard that there is going to be, or there will be, multiple requests, or at least one request to extend the deadline. I've heard that in the community.
So the dates that we have are probably not real.
Yeah, I really want to wait for the council to weigh in one way or the other, and if they are going to extend, to understand if it's a 2-week extension or a 9-month extension, whatever it is, so we don't...
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm just thinking about this from my
Your scheduling, understand. Yeah, I think those dates that we floated are, I think they're very tenuous at best, probably less than a 50-50 sort of thing. if I were a betting man.
Also, the end of the sessions we had with the consultant, there were a number of things that consultant mentioned that may be in the purview of the planning commission there to decide. And I think you and I talked about it, that maybe commission can authorize the consultant to come up, list some of those so that the planning commission can have a better idea about that. Did you get a chance to talk to the the council? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I think I do in terms of, we have a process that's pretty clear and transparent to getting to publication of a final EIR, right? We have, the CIR has been published, there's a certain comment period, the city has a legal obligation to respond to those comments in writing, but beyond that, the process forward is not necessarily crystal clear in terms of, you have all this information, at what point does a project, which is really what you're going to be considering as a planning commission, a project, a land use development proposal, when is that going to come forward? How's that going to be shaped? Because you have an applicant's plan, you have certain community iterations. There has to be some further direction provided to your commission in terms of what you're actually going to be considering at the end of this process. Because the EIR, absent any kind of development proposal, is not really going to be a very productive sort of decision-making tool for you or the community or anybody else, frankly. So the council has the task of kind of working through what the process is going to be beyond the publication of that final EIR. They're going to want to, they've indicated previously on the record that they're interested in performing a community survey, an opinion survey, once the information in the final EIR is available, to gauge community values or community reaction to information and how that might shape what kind of land use proposals might actually be put on the table before the community and the planning commission. So I think the council is going to have to see that path forward, and I know that's one kind of key step in the process, is that survey that they've already expressed interest in undertaking. And so what we'll do is, you're absolutely right, we'll be coming back to the council, to the planning commission once the council gives us some direction as to what your roadmap and what our collective roadmap into the future is going to be on the entitlement side. So.
Because the reason I'm asking is the number of places when we were asking the question, then consultant didn't mention that the planning commission has to make some decision based on that. And I was trying to figure out what those areas were so that we will be ready to tackle that, because it may not be, black and white in EIR. So.
Yeah, as I think Lloyd mentioned, Lloyd Zola in the presentations, you have that sort of tension or that synergy between, what is an environmental issue versus what is kind of a planning issue that you're going to provide the direction and the council is ultimately going to do as adopted policy or ordinance. So I think that's what you're getting at. I'm not sure we're at a point where on a topic-by-topic basis we're going to be able to do that yet. I think it might be a little premature, probably once a project starts to fall out of all this process, and I think then we're going to really narrow it down as to what are some of the environmental issues that have been clearly articulated in the EIR versus what kind of policy and land use recommendations you're going to have to make to the council that are either general plan related or larger planning policy related, not tied to the environmental document.
Yeah, as long as we have some kind of indication to the council that this is what the commission is looking at it. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to wait last minute and find out that we don't have any means to get to that. And last thing I want to mention is that I did see a number of buses parked in that empty parking lot next to the Sierra Point Lumber. I guess that business is in place now, right?
That is correct.
It's good to see, because that was, for a long time, it was empty and there was nothing there. You know what I'm talking about, mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's about it for me.
Any other items? I have nothing else.
I have nothing.
Okay.
So we want to make a motion to...
Adjourn.
Next, we will now adjourn to the regular meeting of August 8th, 2013 at 7:30 PM. Anyone want to make a motion?
That's
You
the
made a
motion I'm
motion?
making, yeah.
Okay, a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.